The garage door opened with its familiar mechanical whine, and Vanessa stepped inside, balancing a coffee carrier in one hand and her purse in the other. Her husband Reed's prized Porsche 911, the one he'd spent 3 years restoring, was missing from its usual spot. In its place sat a bright red sold sign staked into the concrete floor. She smiled, hearing the notification chime on her phone. The funds had cleared. $587,000, she whispered, taking a sip of her latte. Not bad for a Thursday morning. Her wedding ring glinted under the garage lights as she opened her calendar app, scrolling to the appointment labeled Auction House, Reed's guitar collection. 3 months earlier. Vanessa Montgomery peered at her laptop screen, squinting at the quarterly reports. Rain pattered against the windows of her home office as she ran her fingers through her chestnut hair, working late again. At 41, she'd recently been promoted to CFO of Meridian Tech Solutions, a mid-sized software company that had become her second home. The house was quiet. Reed was at a medical conference in Chicago, the third one this quarter. As an orthopedic surgeon with a growing reputation, these trips had become more frequent, especially in the last year. They'd met 15 years ago during her MBA program when she'd torn her ACL playing tennis. He was the charming resident who'd evaluated her in the ER. Their connection had been immediate, both driven, both ambitious, both certain they'd found their perfect match. They'd built a life together in this house, a sprawling modern home in the suburbs of Seattle. No children, that had been a mutual decision. Their careers came first. They'd revisit the topic at 35, then 40, until eventually, the conversation faded away. Now, their home was filled with Reed's collections instead: vintage cars, rare guitars, first-edition medical texts. Vanessa had her own passions, her investment portfolio, her small but exquisite art collection, the glass-enclosed wine cellar Reed had built for her 38th birthday. Vanessa closed her laptop and checked her watch. Nearly midnight. She sent a quick text to Reed. Vanessa, just finished work. Hope the conference is going well. Miss you. Call tomorrow? She didn't expect an immediate response. These medical conferences ran late with networking events and dinners. Her phone chimed a minute later. Reed, just heading to bed. Exhausting day of panels. We'll call tomorrow. Love you. Vanessa smiled and headed to their bedroom. As she changed into her silk pajamas, she noticed Reed's dresser drawer wasn't fully closed, unusual for a man who was meticulous about everything. She pushed it shut, then paused when something caught her eye, a small velvet box partially visible at the back of the drawer. Curious, she pulled it out and opened it. Inside was a delicate gold bracelet with a small diamond charm. Definitely not her style, and certainly not something Reed had given her. Her stomach tightened. Why would Reed have women's jewelry hidden in his drawer? She placed it back exactly as she'd found it and closed the drawer, trying to quiet the unease spreading through her chest. The next morning, Vanessa woke to an email notification. Someone had made a $6,200 purchase on their joint credit card at the Fairmont Olympic Hotel in Seattle. Reed was supposed to be in Chicago. She sat up straight in bed, fully awake now. With trembling fingers, she opened their credit card app and scrolled through recent transactions. The Fairmont Olympic Hotel, $6,200. Cartier, $4,850. La Petite Maison Restaurant, $475. All in Seattle. All while Reed was supposedly in Chicago. Vanessa's mind raced. She picked up her phone to call Reed, then stopped.
No.
If there was something going on, confronting him now would only give him time to create a story. She needed more information. She opened her laptop and logged into their cell phone account. Reed's location history showed him in Seattle, not Chicago. Not just today, for the entire conference. Vanessa set her laptop aside and took a deep breath. 15 years of marriage and now this. She didn't cry. Instead, a cold clarity settled over her. She would handle this the same way she handled corporate takeovers, methodically, strategically, and without emotion clouding her judgment. She called her assistant. Caroline, I need to take a few personal days. Can you reschedule my meetings for the rest of the week? After hanging up, She called her closest friend, Delia, who had gone through a messy divorce 2 years earlier. "I need the name of your divorce attorney," Vanessa said when Delia answered. "And I need your discretion." 2 hours later, Vanessa sat in the sleek downtown office of Patricia Wellington, one of Seattle's most formidable divorce attorneys. "Tell me everything," Patricia said, her silver-rimmed glasses perched on her nose. Vanessa recounted the jewelry, the credit card charges, the location discrepancy. "I need to know what I'm dealing with before he comes home tomorrow." Patricia nodded. "I'll have my investigator on it today. In the meantime, I suggest you gather all your financial information. Account statements, property deeds, vehicle titles, investment portfolios. And don't let him know you suspect anything yet." As Vanessa drove home, her phone rang. Reed. She took a deep breath before answering. "Hey, how's Chicago?" "Boring," Reed replied smoothly. "Same presentations, different year. How are you holding up without me?" The ease with which he lied made Vanessa's blood run cold. "Just busy with work." "What time does your flight get in tomorrow?" "Around 7 p.m. Don't worry about picking me up. I'll grab an Uber." "Okay," Vanessa said. "Have a safe flight." She hung up and gripped the steering wheel tightly, her knuckles turning white. 15 years. 15 years of sharing a bed, a home, dreams. And he could lie to her face without missing a beat. When she got home, she went straight to Reed's office. She knew his passwords. They'd never kept secrets from each other. Or so she'd thought. His email revealed nothing suspicious, but then she found a second email account she didn't recognize. The password wasn't any of his usual combinations. After 3 failed attempts, she stopped, not wanting to trigger any security alerts. Next, she checked his desk drawers. In the bottom one, beneath a stack of medical journals, she found a small leather-bound notebook. Inside were handwritten notes, dates, times, and a name that appeared repeatedly: Sophia. April 15th, Sophia. Dinner at Canlis. May 2nd, Sophia. Weekend. Olympic Peninsula. May 20th, Sophia's birthday bracelet. Vanessa flipped through more pages, her hands now shaking with rage. The entries went back over a year. Her phone rang again. Patricia's investigator, Marcus. "Mrs. Montgomery, I have some preliminary information. Your husband has been seeing a woman named Sophia Reeves for approximately 14 months. She's a pharmaceutical sales representative, 29 years old. They're currently staying at the Fairmont Olympic Hotel in downtown Seattle." Vanessa closed her eyes. "Is there anything else?" "Yes. I've confirmed they have reservations at the hotel through tomorrow night. Also, there's evidence they've been looking at real estate together in the Madison Park area." The betrayal cut deeper. Not just an affair, a future. Plans. Reed was planning a life with this woman. "Thank you, Marcus. Please continue monitoring and report anything else you find." Vanessa hung up and sat in Reed's office chair, surveying the space that now felt foreign to her. On the wall hung his prized possession, a 1959 Les Paul guitar signed by Eric Clapton, valued at over $300,000. In the garage sat his collection of restored vintage cars, including the Porsche 911 he'd spent 3 years and countless dollars perfecting. These were the things Reed loved most. These possessions defined him, fed his ego, gave him status among his colleagues and friends. A plan began to form in Vanessa's mind. She wouldn't just divorce Reed, she would dismantle the carefully constructed image he'd built. She opened her laptop and began making calls. First to Sotheby's, then to several high-end vintage car dealerships, and finally to their financial advisor. "Harold, it's Vanessa Montgomery. I need to make some changes to our investment portfolio." "Yes, immediately." Reed returned home Friday evening, his alibi intact. He carried his suitcase into their bedroom, where Vanessa sat reading a book, her face composed. "How was Chicago?" she asked, not looking up. "Informative," Reed said, unpacking his bag. "Though these conferences are getting repetitive. Might skip the next one." Vanessa nodded. "Did you bring me anything?" Reed paused, a flicker of tension crossing his face. "Sorry, I didn't have time to shop. The schedule was packed." "That's strange," Vanessa said, finally meeting his eyes. You had time to shop at Cartier here in Seattle. Reed froze, his expression shifting from confusion to alarm. What are you talking about? I know everything, Reed. About Sophia. About the real estate shopping in Madison Park. About the 14 months you've been lying to me. The color drained from his face. Vanessa, I can explain. Save it. She cut him off. I've already seen your little diary. Very thorough, by the way. Did you keep it to help you keep your lies straight? Or was it some kind of twisted souvenir collection? Reed sank onto the bed. It's not what you think. Sophia is just a pharmaceutical rep, I know. 29 years old. Blonde. Likes expensive jewelry and luxury hotels on my dime. Reed's face hardened. Fine. Yes, I've been seeing Sophia. It happened gradually. You were always working, always focused on the next promotion. She made me feel alive again. Spare me the midlife crisis justification, Vanessa said coldly. You had choices. You could have talked to me. You could have suggested counseling. You could have asked for a divorce honorably. Instead, you lied for over a year while planning a future with her. I didn't know how to tell you, Reed said, his voice dropping. I didn't want to hurt you. Vanessa laughed, a sharp sound devoid of humor. How considerate. Well, you've made your choice. Now I'm making mine. I want you out of this house tonight. You can't just kick me out. This is my home, too. Actually, I can. I've already spoken to my attorney. The papers will be ready on Monday. Reed stood, anger replacing his initial shock. You've already contacted an attorney? Jesus, Vanessa, we should at least try to talk this through. Like you talked through buying real estate with your girlfriend? Vanessa stood, holding her ground. You have 1 hour to pack what you need. Anything you leave, I'll assume you don't want. Reed's jaw clenched. This is ridiculous. I'm not leaving my own home. Then I'll call the police and explain how you've been defrauding our joint accounts to fund your affair. I have all the receipts, Reed. All the evidence. They stared at each other, 15 years of marriage disintegrating in the space between them. Fine, Reed finally said. I'll get a hotel tonight. But we're not done talking about this, and you're not keeping everything. My car collection alone is worth millions. Vanessa smiled, a cold expression that didn't reach her eyes. We'll see. After Reed left, Vanessa sat alone in their living room, a glass of wine in hand. The house felt emptier than it ever had, but there was something freeing in the silence. Tomorrow, she would begin dismantling Reed's carefully constructed life, piece by precious piece. 2 weeks later, Reed stormed into Vanessa's office at Meridian Tech, his face flushed with rage. He slammed a document on her desk. What the hell is this? He demanded, his voice causing her assistant to appear in the doorway with concern. It's fine, Caroline, Vanessa said calmly. Dr. Montgomery was just leaving. I'm not going anywhere until you explain why I just got a call from Barrett Jackson saying my 1965 Shelby Cobra was delivered to their auction house for the upcoming sale. Vanessa leaned back in her chair. Please close the door on your way out, Caroline. Once they were alone, Vanessa met Reed's furious gaze. As my attorney explained in that letter you're holding, I've initiated proceedings to liquidate our joint assets ahead of the divorce settlement. Joint assets. Reed's voice rose. That car collection is mine. I restored those vehicles myself. You've never even driven most of them. Funny thing about marriage in Washington state, it's a community property jurisdiction. Everything acquired during our marriage is considered jointly owned, regardless of whose name is on the title. Reed raked his hand through his hair. You can't do this. Those cars are irreplaceable. Like our marriage was supposed to be? Vanessa stood, placing her palms on her desk. You should have considered that before you started shopping for real estate with your girlfriend. I made a mistake, Vanessa. A terrible mistake. But this is vindictive. No, Reed. This is consequences. You chose to risk everything we built for a fling with a woman barely out of college. It wasn't just a fling, Reed shouted, then immediately regretted his words. Vanessa's expression hardened. Thank you for the clarification. In that case, I should inform you that your guitar collection is scheduled for auction next week, including the signed Les Paul. The blood drained from Reed's face. You wouldn't. I already have. And before you rush home to check, your first edition medical texts were picked up by Bonhams yesterday. Reed collapsed into the chair across from her desk. Why are you doing this? Vanessa sat back down, her composure intact despite the storm raging inside her. Because you need to understand what loss feels like, Reed. Real loss. Not the convenient narrative you created where poor neglected you had no choice but to find comfort elsewhere. You deliberately destroyed something irreplaceable. Our trust, our partnership, our future. Those cars? Those guitars? They're just things. Expensive things that fed your ego, but still just things. This isn't you, Reed said quietly. You're not vindictive. You're not cruel. You don't know who I am anymore, Vanessa replied. You forfeited that right when you decided to build a life with someone else while still married to me. Reed leaned forward. I'll contest this. I'll get an injunction. You won't get away with it. You're welcome to try. But while you're strategizing with your attorney, you should know that I've also frozen our joint investment accounts and redirected my salary to a separate account. The house is in both our names, so that will have to be addressed in the settlement. In the meantime, I've changed the locks and security codes. You've thought of everything, haven't you? Reed's voice was bitter. I learned from the best. You planned your exit from our marriage with impressive detail, the separate email account, the hidden notebook, the real estate shopping. I'm simply following your example. Reed stood, defeat evident in his posture. This isn't over. You're right about that, Vanessa agreed. The auction for your Porsche 911 is next week. I'll make sure to send you the link so you can watch it live. After Reed left, Vanessa's composed facade crumbled. She closed her office door and allowed herself 5 minutes to cry, 5 minutes to mourn the life she thought she had, the man she thought she knew, the future that would never be. When the tears stopped, she wiped her eyes, reapplied her makeup, and returned to work. There were still assets to liquidate and a life to rebuild. That evening, as Vanessa walked into their, now her, empty home, her phone rang. It was Sophia. Vanessa considered ignoring it, but curiosity won out. This is Vanessa Montgomery. I need to speak with you. Sophia's voice was younger than Vanessa had imagined, but firm. In person. I don't think we have anything to discuss. We do. It's important. Please. Vanessa sighed. Fine. Tomorrow. The Starbucks on 4th and Pine. Noon. The next day, Vanessa arrived at the coffee shop early, selecting a table in the corner where she could observe Sophia's entrance. At precisely noon, a young blonde woman walked in, scanning the room before spotting Vanessa. She was beautiful, in that effortless way youth allows, slender, with clear skin and bright eyes. She approached Vanessa's table with visible nervousness. Thank you for meeting me, Sophia said, sitting down. You have 10 minutes, Vanessa replied. I have a meeting at 1 p.m. Sophia nodded, clutching her handbag. Reed doesn't know I'm here. He'd be furious if he found out. Reed's emotional state is no longer my concern. I understand why you hate me. I don't hate you, Vanessa interrupted. I don't know you. Reed is the one who betrayed me, not you. Sophia looked surprised by this response. He told me you were separated. For months, he said you were already living separate lives, just waiting for the right time to announce it. Vanessa felt a fresh wave of anger, but kept her expression neutral. We weren't separated. Not even close. He lied to you too. Sophia nodded, blinking back tears. I found that out 2 weeks ago, when you confronted him. He came to my apartment afterward and admitted everything. Why are you telling me this? Because you should know that I ended it immediately. I won't be with someone who could lie so convincingly to both of us. Sophia reached into her bag and pulled out a small velvet box, the same one Vanessa had found in Reed's drawer. He gave me this for my birthday. I don't want it anymore. Vanessa didn't take the box. Keep it or throw it away. It has nothing to do with me. There's something else. Sophia hesitated. The real estate we were looking at, Reed told me it was an investment property for you both. I only realized after everything came out that he was planning to leave you. I'm so sorry. Did you come here for absolution? Vanessa asked. Because I can't give you that. No. Sophia shook her head. I came to give you this. She pulled out a USB drive and placed it on the table. It's everything: emails, texts, photos. Things that might help you in the divorce. Vanessa stared at the small device. Why would you do this? Because what he did was wrong. To both of us. Sophia stood to leave. I truly didn't know you were still together. I wouldn't have. I'm not that person. As Sophia turned to go, Vanessa called after her. He was planning to sell the Porsche to buy you a ring. Sophia stopped. What? The Porsche 911. It was his most prized possession. He told his friend Nathan he was going to sell it to buy you an engagement ring. That's why I sold it first. A look of understanding passed over Sophia's face. Goodbye, Vanessa. I hope you take him for everything. I already am. 6 months later, Vanessa stood in her new penthouse apartment overlooking Puget Sound, a glass of champagne in hand. The divorce had been finalized that morning, with terms heavily in her favor. Reed's attempts to contest the asset liquidation had failed, primarily due to the evidence Sophia had provided proving his intent to hide assets. The doorbell rang. Vanessa opened it to find Patricia Wellington, her attorney, holding a bottle of champagne. I thought we should celebrate, Patricia said, entering the sleek space. That was one of the most satisfying divorces of my 30-year career. Vanessa smiled. It did have a certain poetic justice to it. When he realized you'd sold every collection he owned before he could hide them, priceless. Patricia accepted a glass of champagne. Though I'm curious why you didn't sell the wine cellar. You could have gotten at least $200,000 for those vintages. Some things are worth more than money, Vanessa replied. That collection represents 15 years of my own passion. I wasn't going to let him take that from me too. They clinked glasses as Vanessa's phone chimed with an email notification. Anything important? Patricia asked. Just confirmation of my donation to the Seattle Children's Hospital. $2 million from the proceeds of Reed's collections. Patricia raised an eyebrow. That's generous. Especially considering what you went through. Vanessa looked out at the water, the setting sun casting gold across the waves. I didn't want that money. It was tainted. This way, some good comes from all the ugliness. And Reed? Have you heard from him? He took a position at a hospital in Phoenix. With a significant pay cut, from what I understand. His reputation took a hit when the details of our divorce became known. Patricia studied her client with admiration. You know, most people in your position would have been destroyed by what happened. You not only survived, you thrived. Vanessa shrugged. I had a choice. I could let his betrayal define me, or I could use it as an opportunity to rebuild on my terms. As Patricia left an hour later, Vanessa returned to the window, watching the lights of the city come alive in the growing darkness. Her phone rang, a number she didn't recognize. Vanessa Montgomery. Vanessa. It was Reed's voice, slightly slurred. I saw the announcement about your promotion to CEO. Congratulations. She hadn't expected to hear from him again. Thank you. Is there something you need, Reed? I just wanted to say you won. Are you happy now? You took everything. Not everything, Vanessa replied calmly. Just everything you loved more than me. There was a long silence before Reed spoke again, his voice smaller. I made the biggest mistake of my life. Yes, you did. Is there any chance? No. Vanessa cut him off. There isn't. Take care of yourself, Reed. She hung up and set her phone down, feeling nothing but a quiet certainty that she'd made the right choice. Outside, a ferry crossed the Sound, its lights bright against the dark water. Vanessa raised her glass in a silent toast to herself, to the woman who had emerged from the wreckage stronger than before. On her dining table sat the day's mail, including a postcard from Florence, Italy. She picked it up and read the message again. Vanessa, Florence is as beautiful as you described. Thank you for the recommendation. Sometimes the best revenge is creating a life they can't touch. Sophia. Vanessa smiled and pinned the postcard to her bulletin board, alongside her CEO announcement and a brochure for a vineyard in Napa Valley she was considering purchasing. Reed had left her for a younger woman, thinking he could discard 15 years of marriage for a fresh start. Instead, both women had discarded him and found their own fresh starts. Vanessa opened the balcony door, letting the cool evening air wash over her. In the distance, she could see the lights of the exclusive neighborhood where her former home stood, the home now occupied by a young family who had bought it at a fair price, the only transaction in this whole ordeal where Vanessa hadn't sought the upper hand. She'd kept only one thing from her marriage: the lessons she'd learned about resilience, about self-worth, about the difference between possessions and true value. Those, unlike everything else, were hers alone to keep.
And that wraps up today's story. Now we want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments, and let's see how far these stories reach. If this story moved you or gave you chills, give it a like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. One last thing, rate the story from 1 to 10 in the comments. Your feedback helps us bring you even better ones next time. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you being part of this storytelling journey.